Hello and welcome to our podcast where we read the Bible and discuss its religious, historical, and cultural significance. I'm your host Andrew, along with your co-host Stephen.
Hello.
And this is episode 5, so we'll be taking on day 5 in the creation. We've been doing one episode per day. And let's go ahead and get right to it this time. We got our King James Version here, which has been sort of our main go-to Bible to read from, and then we've been comparing with other Bibles as we go. So we've got Genesis chapter 1, verses, starting with verse 20 here. And God said, "Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And God created great whales, and every living creature that moveth, with which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind, and God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let the fowl multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning were the 5th day." Okay, so that's not an overly long day, but a lot happened.
Yeah, we've got a few things being created. I'm not very happy with it saying fowl.
Fowl, yeah.
Fowl.
Well, it makes you think it's, yeah. Well, let's see, what was the line there? It said, and every winged fowl... Oh, no, that's not it. And let the fowl multiply in the earth. That's just not a very pleasant-sounding sentence.
Well, obviously, fowl was the Old English word for
birds, yeah.
For birds, so
yeah.
It's a bad translation as well.
Oh, no. We haven't gotten that yet. Now, I was reading... I was telling you earlier, I have a copy of the Tanakh, a Jewish one from the Jewish Publication Society, and that's my wife's. She's Jewish. Or at least her mother. She got it from her mother, and
it's not a disease.
It's not, well,
she got it from her mother.
Well, this thing is like the herpes. You can't get rid of it. You can't just say you're not. They keep telling you all you are. If your mother's Jewish, you're Jewish. There's no cure. Anyway, which means my son's Jewish. Let me just read the 5th day and see if you can spot the difference here from this version. And God said, Let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let fowl fly above the earth into the open firmament of heaven. And God created the great sea monsters, and every living creature that creepeth, wherewith the waters swarmed, and its after its kind, and every winged fowl after its kind, and blah, 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 blah. I gotta say, I laughed. I honestly laughed out loud when I got to, and God created the great sea monsters. What, like Nessie?
Here's
the thing the reason I wanted to bring it up, because it's translated in the King James Version as whales, it looks like. So, what's up with that?
That's because it's from the Hebrew tanin, which, it can mean dragon.
Well, okay, dragon, that's not
a dragon,
Bigfoot,
serpent, sea
Yeti.
Monster. Basically, it means lizard, reptile.
Okay. Well, if it means lizard or reptile, why is it being translated as whale?
Well, as I've said before, at this time, they didn't know everything about Hebrew, not as much as we know today, nowhere near as much as we know today.
I bet those King James onlyists are feeling pretty smug now. So basically what you're saying is that the lizard translation is correct, based on what we know now, and it's the whale one that's wrong.
The whale one is the one that's wrong, yeah.
It's just wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, okay. I mean, even though... It's funny, because the whale one seems to make more sense, or at least it sounds more plausible. Sea Monsters sounds a little bit like a Japanese horror movie or something.
Yeah, the great sea monsters. Well, obviously it's
Godzilla versus the Sea Monsters. My son just turned 1, and he got a little plush storybook, and it's called the Tale of Sir Prancelot, a horse, and the whole thing rhymes. And it's sort of mock Old English, I guess. And you get to the part where they get to the dragon. I turn the page, and this is what it says: "What ho, a mighty dragon." It's like, what?
What ho?
What ho? And the dragon said, I'm a lady, thank you very much. It just reminded me of that when I read Sea Monsters. It caught me off guard. Nothing wrong with it, I guess, but it just sounds very funny.
But yeah, well, I basically...
And God created the Pokemon. He created Pikachu and Charizard. I think those are the only two I even know. I don't even know anything about Pokemon. Never got into it.
Basically, a Tanine can refer to anything from large snakes to enormous sea creatures. Tanine is also used in a figurative sense to denote God's most powerful opponents, whether natural, in Job 7, that would be Leviathan, I guess, or national, so Babylon, Egypt. So basically, because it refers to Ezekiel 29:3, where it talks about, "Look, I am against you, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, the great monster, Tanine, lying in the midst of its waterways. Here I said, my Nile is my own. I made it for myself." So basically, great sea creature, sea monster. I wouldn't really go with sea monster. Great monster.
I'm going to eat you.
Basically, I would take it as a reference to dinosaurs, to be honest.
Okay.
Dinosaurs. Great lizard.
Yeah, they are great
Here you
lizards.
have Gadol Tanin. Great lizard. Dinosaur. So God created the dinosaurs.
I'm not sure they knew about the dinosaurs back then.
Well, God did.
Oh, yeah, I guess God would, but did Moses? Maybe God told Moses.
Well, it depends on context, really, because as I said, it can be figurative. Tanin means reptile, serpent, monster, great creature. As I said, even dragon.
We don't actually know what they talked about at the burning bush, though.
No, well...
He could have God could have told him about dinosaurs.
Well, he could have mentioned that there were great creatures. So obviously, if we take it to mean they thought great sea creatures, what great sea creatures, apart from the whale, what great sea creatures did they particularly know about?
Not really. I mean, yeah, the whale is still the greatest sea creature.
It is still the greatest sea creature. So
of all time, even when you consider the dinosaurs.
Yeah. Well, even then, there were dinosaurs that were mainly in the sea. There were some of them were seafaring reptiles.
I think the whales are the biggest creatures that ever lived, though.
But they're mammals, aren't they?
Yeah, but I think they're still bigger than the biggest dinosaur.
Really?
I'm pretty sure they are. Yeah, not all whales, but the big ones.
The big ones.
Well, you have like killer whales. They're much smaller, than the.
They're just giant dolphins, aren't they?
Pretty much, they kind of look like dolphins.
Yeah,
they do. They look a little like dolphins. Not to a marine biologist would say, that's insulting. Oh, I see. They all look alike. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, they do.
A little.
So that's the meaning of Tanin. What I definitely have an issue with is the rendering of Orth as fowl. Basically, Orth means flying creatures. Anything with wings, essentially.
Well, then, okay, but what's wrong? Yeah, but isn't that foul though? I mean, or is your problem that it should be broader and not just birds?
It should be broader. It shouldn't just be birds. Birds is too specific in this case. It should just be winged creatures. Well,
this is also the version that made lizards down to a whale. So they obviously preferred making it
more specific.
Yeah, specific.
So basically, they want to say that Orth means birds or fowl, specifically fowl. The English Standard Version I'm staring at has birds.
It just went straight with birds, even.
Yeah, even more generic, and that's quite a new one. So they should know better.
Well, they could have. I guess in the future we'll get one that says chickens.
Could do. Basically, a chicken would come under as an Orth. Here's what the New Jerusalem Bible has for verse 20. God said, "Let the waters be alive with a swarm of living creatures, and let birds wing their way above the earth across the vault of heaven." And so it was. Yeah.
Let them wing their way across?
Let them wing their way.
It sounds like he's abandoning them. Like, he's dropping them off outside. He's letting them out of the car. All right, just wing yourself off. Find your own way. If you see a dark cloud, take a left turn.
Obviously, Orth comes from earth. It's written the exact same way. The only difference is that an Orth will always have ayin, vav, the. It would always look like that because it's a noun, whereas obviously the verb has extra letters here to make it be apparent that it's a verb. So earth, basically, it means, to fly, to fly about, to hover, to fly away, to cause to fly or give light upon, to go about to or fro, to brandish, to cover.
To brandish.
To brandish, yeah. to cover or to cause something to be dark, and also to cause something to be gloomy.
These things don't always translate into other languages. Like, we have words in English where the noun and the verb are basically the same. Mm-hmm. But this is one case where that didn't, like, stop fouling that gun around. And he fouled a gun.
Unfortunately, we have
I should just start using foul for brandish.
Yeah. Well, it's like tear and tear, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're spelled the exact same way.
But yeah, that's even another funny one on top of that, because you pronounce it a little different.
Yeah, tear and tear. And yet we have an actual tear, which is a weed. So you got tear and tear, which are spelled the exact same way but said differently, but then you got tear and tear, which are spelled differently but said the same.
We used to have, they used to make us do little games in school where it would be like Mary, Mary and Mary, or Blue and Blue. Like Mary was merry about getting married or something like this, you know.
But well, you see, I would say Mary was getting merry about getting married.
Yeah. Well, there's a test you can do. There's like linguists have tests you can do to figure out where you're from based on your regional accent. And one of the things that gives me away from being from the Midwest is that I don't distinguish between pin, like you'd use for sewing, and a pen, like you would write with. So I just pronounce them both as pen.
Oh right. So you don't say pin and pen. You just say
not
pen.
Really. The difference, I don't hear the difference very much. The difference sounds so insignificant to my ear. I barely hear the difference. And if I consciously, pronounce it one way or the other, I can kind of do it like pin or pen, but I really have to force it. Otherwise, I just say pen, and I just say that for both of them.
Ah, dear. Well, as you can tell, I pronounce them. But again, we basically, being from the other side of the Atlantic, we pronounce our vowels properly.
Well, and you also use extra ones.
We do use extra ones.
Keep putting that U in there.
Yeah. We like that. You don't like the U for some strange reason.
I actually do like the U, personally. I actually think the U makes it look like it's pronounced a little bit more. Yeah,
because to me, when I read American colour, I say collar.
Right.
So that's what it looks like to me. It looks like collar.
Well, I think the
mistake...
And
yeah, it's not like a collar, like a vicar's collar.
I think the problem is that Americans aren't very subtle, right? And it's... An O-U together can be a subtle sound.
I think there's a few more problems that Americans have.
Well, that's one problem we have. So when they see that extra U in there, they really want to pronounce it color. They want to really pronounce that U, and you don't have to. It's just color.
Because you say tour, don't you? Tour.
Yeah.
Tour instead of tour. Like in Torah. Yeah. Tor is in Torah. That's how we pronounce it. Tor.
We say tour.
You say tour. Yeah.
Tour. I want to take a tour.
When they did say tour. You also pronounce your U's as double O's. So
that's true.
Stupid and tune. It's like, ugh.
Tune.
It's a U, damn it!
It's a U!
Tune! Stupid!
Tune.
Fucking you!
Tune, like a cartoon.
Yes.
My grandma, she would say, like, I need to go rinse, like R-I-S-E, rinse the dishes. But she would pronounce it wrench. Like a socket wrench. I gotta go wrench the dishes. Wow. I don't know how you get that far off, but...
No. Let's not go there.
Yeah.
Let's just say grandma not that smart. No offence to your grandma, I apologise. But yeah. Well, we recently had an email from my team leader at work telling us to seize all help for a certain site. He spelled seize as in S-E-I-Z-E instead of cease, which is C-E-A-S-E. That was quite funny. He said he meant basically he's just not that good with spelling.
So he just spelled it the way he thought he pronounced it.
He thought, please seize our work for this company. And he was like, does it mean cease? Please seize, go and seize our work. He didn't mean it like that. He meant stop helping them. What the hell were we talking about?
We were talking about...
Oh, right, yeah, so your grama's stupid. Right, okay.
Right, well, okay, but beyond that, what were we talking about that we were supposed to be talking about?
Foal and...
fowl,
bird.
right, fowl and bird and that, yeah.
Speaking of U's, we discussed last episode about the Old English V being the U.
Right, I remember.
And you asked, what do we use as the V?
Right.
We use the U.
So
we have the U, it used to be the V. Because basically I managed to find a copy of the Great Bible translation online in image form, which I've typed out. Basically, I've kept all the original spelling. And yeah, so evening is EUENYNG in English, but that would be evening, or I, and the U being a V. In the beginning, spelled nearly exactly like ours, apart from it uses Y's instead of an I. And has an E at the end. Quite a lot of them have E's at the end. In the beginning, with an E at the end, God created heaven and earth. Earth with an E in the end. The earth was void and empty. Empty has an E at the end.
What's harder to read, that or people's tweets?
Well, I can read this fine. I despise short. I seriously despise shorthand.
What, you mean like URAQT?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, no! Just learn to type faster, quickly.
I'm a little more I have a friend who is German, and she spent a lot of time in England, and so her English is like British English, her accent.
Mm-hmm.
Her grammar and spelling are almost always perfect, and she added a little message. Anytime she sends a message from her phone, it tacks on to the end, please forgive any spelling or grammar errors. I'm on my phone. But there never are any. It's always perfect. It's just so funny. People who need to apologize never do.
I know, like me. Sorry.
It's okay.
Let's just bring up 2 wars and everything. Anyway,
didn't work out real well for you, did it?
So yeah, the old V was a U and the old U was a V.
Not
and
what
gives further credence to the fact that the old U was a V is an actual letter in our alphabet. Which one is it?
A letter in our alphabet that
gives credence to the fact that the old English V was a U.
Oh, W?
W.
Is that right?
2 V's.
Yeah, that's what that's the only thing I could think, because W.
Yeah, W.
W.
That's 2 U. That's supposed to be 2 U's. That's why it's a W. 2 V, which looks like 2 V's to us. That's because Old English V was a U.
But 2 U's doesn't sound like a W, does it?
Well, obviously you don't say W when you do, but it gives
whoa! I just realized W. W is in 2 U's.
2 U's. Yeah.
That's pretty funny. I gotta admit, who knew? Are any of the other letters like that? I guess.
I'm not thinking. Well, we got the letter C. That's a bit of an odd cookie. Sorry, that's an American phrase. Bit of an odd cookie.
That is not an American phrase. Bit of an odd cookie. I've never heard anyone say that in my life.
All right. Okay. Whatever. It is in my head. Right. Okay. That's a bit of a weird, because we get it from Old English, but also Latin as well. That's why C has a K sound, but also an S sound, and it also comes from Greek, because the Old Greek sigma, the S, look like what we call a C. But that's why our C has both an S and a K sounding sound. Essentially, C is a completely redundant letter, because we already have 2 other letters that do.
Yeah, the Germans use K a lot instead of C, I think.
Yes, they do use K a lot. An ABC in Latin is actually a K sound, hence why Julius Caesar was not called Julius Caesar. He was Julius Kaiser. It wasn't even called Julius, let's not. No J. It was called Julius Kaiser.
Julius Kaiser.
Hence why Adolf Hitler liked to call himself the Kaiser.
I didn't know that.
He was re-establishing himself as the Caesar.
You see, folks, if you just read the Bible, you would know things like this.
Yes.
Book of Genesis.
Honest, if you knew some other languages, you'd know that when they say Caesar in like French or German or Italian, it's
say Kaiser. Well,
they say Kaiser.
I know in math, there's been a lot of mathematicians who are German. Mm-hmm. Basically, there was a lot of everything that were German until World War II, and then it sort of fell apart over there. But it's true, they all left. A lot of them were Jews. It's true. A lot of the great thinkers in Germany were Jews, and after World War II, they all left. But the point is, so there's a lot of writing for physics and math and stuff that was Jewish Germans. And there's lots of K's, and the letter K is used a lot in math, and people are always like, for a constant, like a lot of times for a constant, it'll be the letter K, and That usually confuses people because they think, oh, constant, that should be a C because it's spelled with a C, but it's K because of the German roots there.
Yeah. See, if it was Latin, it would be K. That's why we know that constant is a Latin word.
Yeah. So there's a little trivia that didn't matter to anyone listening to this, probably.
No, definitely not. However, I would say that we need to do with the letter C what the Russians do, which is have it as a ch sound. A B G. Anyway, Pointless Trivia 101.
Pointless Trivia 101.
Yes, thank you for repeating what I just said.
Exactly, that's what I'm here for. Is there an echo in here?
There's going to be a longer podcast. It's going to be a longer podcast if you keep repeating everything I say, Andrew.
I'm just trying to offer people who are listening extra value. They get to hear everything twice.
Yeah, in an English accent and then an American accent. Choose which one you want to understand.
I'm translating to an American audience.
Anyway. So it should say, let winged creatures fly above the earth across the expanse of the heavens. Again? Sorry, I'm reading for the ESV. The ESV has done what it should say. It's expanse. It says rather than the firmament of heaven. So basically, as I said, I was typed out the Great Bible. Again, the Great Bible has firmament. So basically, firmament goes back 1539 at least. The idea that it should be firmament rather than expanse. And here's the Great Bible, Genesis chapter 1, verse 20. And God said, let the waters bring forth moving creatures that have life, and fowl that may fly upon the earth in the face of the firmament of heaven. There's very little between that and the King James Version.
Although those fowls seem to be a little more defiant. Fly in the face of.
That might fly upon the earth in the face of the firmament of heaven. Yeah, basically it's gone for, it's translating it across. That's face. Upon is what should be above the earth. Right? Great Bible is upon the earth, and then in the open firmament, in the face of, or across.
But let's not forget, immutable Word of God. Is the whole Bible going to be like this?
You mean just slightly changed a very tiny little bit?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Let's do this again. Here is Genesis 1, verse 20 in the Great Bible. And God said, let waters bring forth moving creature that have life, and fowl that may fly upon the earth in the face of the firmament of heaven. Here's the English Standard Version. It was released this millennium, I think. And God said, let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the expanse of the heavens. I mean, a few changed words, and they're pretty much the exact same. But the ESV has gone for the Jewish Publication Society's Bible, swarm with swarms of living creatures.
But they've also changed fowl to birds, so...
Fowl to birds, rather than what it should be as winged creatures.
I mean, I knew what the word fowl meant, and you did too, but I wonder if they changed that because they thought people would be more familiar with bird now.
Bird, yeah, very much so. Because we say fowl rather than fowl.
We say fowl.
Fowl. You say fowl, that's why you confuse fowl and fowl.
Fowl.
Oh, right, okay. Sorry, I've just quickly Googled fowl. Wikipedia's come up with fowl is a word for birds in general, but usually refers to birds belonging to one of two biological orders, namely the game fowl or the land fowl and the water fowl. So that might be another reason why you might want to change it, because fowl is a bit more specific.
Get it a little more broad.
But then, so is birds, when the actual translation should be winged creatures. Why they couldn't just put winged creatures to be more accurate is, yeah.
There's winged insects, there was winged dinosaurs. Of course, I guess dinosaurs and birds are pretty much the same. I mean,
I guess so.
Birds evolved from dinosaurs, so. So I guess a
2001 was when the ESV was released.
Was that 9/11 or? Sorry.
2000.
Sorry, that was
Why? What happened on the 9th of November? Nothing happened on the 9th of November.
No, 9/11.
Yeah, 9th of November.
No, the 11th of September.
No, that would be 11 now.
Oh, I see, because you're British and you do everything backwards and wrong.
No, we do everything the right way. Go back to the ESV and me getting really a bit annoyed with this. Because let birds. Wrong! Winged creatures. Here's what they say at the start of Translation Legacy in the English Standard Version. The English Standard Version, ESV, stands in the classic mainstream of English Bible translations over the past half millennium. The fountainhead of that stream was William Tyndale's New Testament of 1526. How dare you? How dare you apply it? How dare you?
How dare you, sir?
How dare you compare yourself to William Tyndale? Anyway, marking its course with the King James Version of 1611, the English Revised Version of 1885, the American Standard Version of 1901, and the Revised Standard Version of 1952 and 1971. In that stream, faithfulness to the text and rigorous pursuit of accuracy were combined with simplicity, beauty, and dignity of expression. Our goal has been to carry forward this legacy for a new century. To this end, each word and phrase in the ESV has been carefully weighed against the original Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek to ensure the fullest accuracy and clarity and to avoid under-translating or overlooking any nuance of the original text.
Carefully.
Yeah. Has been carefully weighed against the original Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek to ensure the fullest accuracy and clarity.
It sounds like a bad, commercial.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's also bollocks.
So it is just like a commercial then.
It is, yeah. Complete and utter bollocks from start to finish. I mean, you cannot say you've gone for fullest accuracy and clarity and put birds as a translation there in Genesis 1 verse 20.
Yeah, there's just something foul about that, isn't there?
Yes, and that was an awful joke. Oh, God.
Hey, we're just trying to keep abreast of the situation here.
I'm going to go out to the wings in a minute. Anyway, so yeah, we've got some mistranslations, completely
Excuse
awful.
me, fullest accuracy.
Sorry, fullest accuracy translations that translate wrong. So birds should be flying creatures. Sea creatures, I'll let them have sea creatures. I'd rather have lizard.
Well, I would rather have flying lizard, frankly. That's even funnier.
Flying lizard. I'd rather the great lizards rather than the great sea creatures.
Sea monster was also pretty...
You like sea monster.
I don't even know why they keep doing these, because after all, in the back of my King James here, the growth of the Bible from 2 collections of smaller books into one grand whole was very slow, but God so directed the minds of men that they finally did the work and did it well. Case closed. Come on. Right here. It says it. It says it. Right here.
Bollocks.
Fullest accuracy. How much more accurate can you get? God willed it. If he wanted it to say bird, he would have willed these people to write bird.
Yeah, that's pretty much the King James Version only is go for. It was the will of God that the King James Version have done this.
God.
It was a divinely inspired translation. Was it? Bollocks. It was plagiarized and changed to make it even worse. And then no one in the past 400 years has really tried to change it.
Which is a little sad, I think.
It's a little sad, but then also a very good indication of how deep traditions go.
Yeah.
No matter how wrong, how stupid, how ridiculous, or how full of crap, traditions go so very deep into people that it's just extremely hard for them to get out of them. And if
we are talking about the new royal baby, right?
George Alexander Louis.
George Alexander Louis. If there's a more British name out there.
GLAY.
You know, he was given a baby alligator by Australia. I saw that on the news.
Surprised he didn't get a stingray. Steve Irwin.
Someone Irwin that baby.
Anyway, no, bad translation. Full or bird is not the translation. Great whale is not a good translation. Great sea creature is an okay translation. Great sea monster, I think that's going a bit too far. I think the great lizards would be a much better and accurate translation. Let's make it even worse. ESV, they've done the same thing in the 21. They put every winged bird.
Yeah, what about insects? Insects make up more biomass than mammals.
Exactly. That's why it would be a lot
of them fly.
Yes, exactly. That's why it would, as I said, orth means winged creature, which also includes insects.
I mean, for God's sakes, the word fly, the noun is an insect.
Is for an insect. You see me face palming, if you could see me. I am face palming at how annoyed I am at this, and to say that is fullest accuracy. It's just like people read that, oh right, so this is what the Bible says. No.
Okay, but which is more full of shit though? The King James Bible saying that God willed it, or the people saying fullest accuracy?
I'd say they're nigh on par.
I want to see one person from each of those camps duke it out.
We went for fullest accuracy. What were we done by the will of God? And I come and say, you're both full of bollocks. Neither was the will of God, and you did not go for fullest accuracy. If you did, I wouldn't be able to find a problem.
You know what's sad about this? In my particular copy, we're not even past the first page yet.
I know. 5th podcast. We're still on the 5th day, and I've not even moved off verse 20 yet.
And the heaping mounds of BS we found so far.
I know. It's just like we barely got through the first 20 verses. let this be an indication for those people reading this. Those people listening to this. We're in our 5th podcast. We're on the 20th verse, and we are still finding turd everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, Andrew's got a newly born baby. He's producing less turd than these first 20 verses.
If you took all the different versions that we've looked at, you could probably make out of that 2 different versions that barely share any words. I mean, you've got so many word changes. They're similar words, but it's just like...
Yeah, well, the different versions we've looked at, the ESV, the New Jerusalem Bible, the JPS, and some of the older ones from the Great Bible through to the King James Version, there's very little difference between them. But the different... Well, there's a different... They've used it, obviously we found separated and divided. Basically, they just used slightly different words. But at the end of it, they still say the same thing, in that, apparently, according to verse 20, and God said, let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds, or fowl, or something fly above the sea, or across, whatever. Basically, they're still getting the main things wrong.
I wonder, though, I mean, we kind of talked about this before, like the Protestant Reformation and more regular people reading the Bible themselves. Mm-hmm. There's not as many Catholics as there used to be, but people still go to church.
Yes, unfortunately.
And I wonder, because a thinking person who goes to the store and grabs the Bible, whether it's King James or English Standard or whatever, I mean, they know that that's not like an original copy, if there is even such a thing. So, are they taking comfort in that, minister or preacher or whatever, sort of giving them the interpretation and not having to... I mean, is it just a matter of laziness and saying, I don't want to read it, or is there also, I need help because I can't, it's...
Well, obviously, when the Protestant Reformation happened, obviously, the Catholic Church had a massive thrall over everyone. So, basically, the Church could say whatever the hell, and people would, they'd have to, if they could understand it, because it all spoke to them in Latin. So it wasn't really helpful. And basically, with William Tyndale, his idea was, it was bold in what eventually got him killed, which it was to give scripture to people in a language that they could understand. And yeah, that is what he did. And eventually they did do it with the Great Bible. But we're 400 years ahead now. There should be no, as far as I'm concerned, there should be nothing that is translated wrongly.
But you can sit there and look at all these different versions, and you do. I mean, you obviously spend a lot of time doing this, and say, oh, it's bird here and fowl there, and you make up your own mind. But I guess what I was saying is, what about for people who don't have that kind of time? Because we don't always have time to review every product before we buy it. We have to spend a lot of our life trusting authority figures. So
yeah, but that's...
And you could say, well, God's really important. What else can you should be making time for that. But I just wonder, is that why there's still such a market for preachers and ministers and things? Is it just cultural, or do people really just need that authority figure to deliver the message to them because they don't have the time to sit and figure out that one version said fowl and one version said bird? And
well, this is where it'll come down to the fact that, as far as I'm concerned, God isn't going to blame someone who's read the English Bible. He's going to blame the translator who hasn't translated it properly for them. Because basically, when it comes down to people arguing about scripture, I would say that most of that comes down to what they're reading in English translations. Because so basically, we've got this English translation, it says this. Well, we've got this English translation, it says this. Then you're like, well, you have a Hebrew version that, whilst some of the manuscripts might have slightly different things here and there, you're not going to have that many differences that you see in an English version. So if you are really determined and really want to know what God says, you have to find the time to do this. You have to find some sort of time to go through and check it for yourself. You need to be able to think for yourself. You shouldn't just follow the crowd. You shouldn't just follow someone because they're an authority figure. whilst I'd say it was definitely cultural, but I'd say yeah, people go to these people expecting them to have answers. Problem is, I would argue that they don't have the answers, and they're just regurgitating something that somebody else has told them, and then obviously we go back a few hundred years, it's just been the same crap constantly. Obviously, there have been people that have gone against the grain. William Tyndale went against the grain; he got murdered for it. Loads of people went against the grain and got murdered for it. But again, there is I can't remember which verse it is in the Torah. It says, "You shall not incline after the majority to do what is evil." And unfortunately, that is what we're doing, as far as I'm concerned. If you go out and buy a translation, right? Yeah, well, it'll give you a general outline. But if you want to know exactly what's going on, you're going to have to put the time to look at the original Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic. You can't just take an English translation as the full-on authority on what you should base your beliefs on. Because obviously, some things are lost in translation. Now, as we've discussed in the first 20 verses.
Oh yes,
there's been an awful lot I've pointed out. I say, well, it should be more like this, and I've explained, and I've used Hebrew. I've gone to the Hebrew and told you what it means.
But surely the line's blurry sometimes, because on the one hand, you do have those people who say, "Yes, listen to me. I'm going to give you the answers. Come to my church." Clearly, they are promoting themselves as an authority figure, but then you also have people who just put out materials, or just like you. I mean, you put materials on your website, you're sitting here saying, take the time, do the research, think for yourself. But what if someone read some of your materials and just took that verbatim as their own opinion without... I mean, you can't control that. You can't control someone else adopting your opinions. You didn't ask them to, but they might do it anyway. Yeah, no,
unfortunately, that's a problem with human nature,
right?
In that, we do look at people and take them as what they say. And I hope people listening to me or reading what I do don't just take it as, all right, yeah, exactly right. You have to go and check it for yourself. Even what I've written or said, you have to go and check it. You don't trust anyone. Essentially, is my kind of point. Don't trust anyone. You cannot trust humans.
So basically, we're living in total recall here.
We are living in total recall, whatever that means. What do you mean?
You haven't seen the movie Total Recall?
I've seen the original.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember about that is a lady with 3 breasts. But
well, that's the one takeaway you got out of it. But basically in the movie, he can't trust anyone, and he's told at the beginning, don't trust anyone, and the person who told him that wound up betraying him. So,
essentially. It is a case of don't trust everyone. Don't trust anyone 100% unless they've proven themselves to you. Basically, like if you say something to me, Andrew, I will trust it, but that's not because I've just heard you and go, all right, no, that's fine. It's because you've proven to yourself that you've proven to me that you yourself are trustworthy.
Oh, thank you.
And that's and that's why you asked me to do this Godcast with you, because you, as far as I'm concerned, had seen that I was trustworthy and I wasn't just some unthinking moron that just spouted out crap to you. As I said, don't trust anyone unless they have proven themselves trustworthy. Unfortunately, even then, take it with a pinch of salt, because throughout my life, I have trusted people who I thought were trustworthy, and it turns out they just weren't trustworthy whatsoever. It's why I got kicked out of church. Why I got kicked off another forum with people quite like me, but because I went against the guy who was in charge of and I was banned until 2033. It was quite funny.
Really? You were banned until 2033?
I was banned from the forum originally until 2033.
You said originally. Has this been amended? Or?
It has been amended, mainly because at that time, well, basically, I was completely and utterly shocked at this that happened to me, and I issued a quick apology, which is just so grating to read, and I renounced most of it because what I apologized for, basically, being able to think about it afterwards when it emotionally calmed down. It was like, well, no, I'm not in the wrong on this. And I've apologized for saying I was in the wrong, and actually I wasn't in the wrong.
It can be difficult. There's some real peer pressure there, because it's not just that person. It feels like everyone is against you there. And you start to question whether you're actually right or not.
Yeah, and it was exactly like that. But after, being able to think about it, and going back to that place of reading some of the posts, it's like, oh God, I can't believe I ever spoke with these people. It's just.
But that's a part of your journey. That's a part of your growth. That's a part of what brought you to where you are now. So
exactly, that's why, Andrew.
But are you planning on going back in 2033?
Am I planning on going back in 2033? Well, I'm hoping to not be here by then. I'm hoping hoping the harvest will have happened and I'll have gone. Do you know what the harvest is? No, you know it's the rapture.
Right.
You must know about the rapture.
Yes.
If there's one thing you Americans know about, it's the...
Oh, yes. There's been lots of bad books written about that.
The latest one was that guy in 2011. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
So it's going to be in March. He gave it as March 11th.
And then didn't he change it? And then he said
like, it means October.
Yeah, exactly.
And then October rolled around. It's like, yeah, you are full of it. It's like, oh.
There's always been prophets.
There's always been.
So-called prophets.
The best
who come
people
around
for it are the Jehovah's Witnesses. Honestly. If you go and read some of the predictions of the Jehovah's Witnesses, they are absolutely fantastic. I think the most...
And not for their accuracy.
Not for their accuracy. I think the most depressing one was the one for 1975. That was basically when Jesus, quote unquote, was supposed to have returned. And quite a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses sold loads of things. And when it didn't happen, it was like...
Well, he may have. I mean, the image I always see of Jesus with the long hair and everything, he probably would have fit in 75.
He would have fit in with hippie. And like, hang on, I'm here. Oh, you're not. You're just a hippie.
Hey, man, I'm Jesus, man. Yeah, whatever. Put down the pipe. No, really, I'm Jesus.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, he wouldn't have used Jesus as a name. Anyway, so yeah. Basically, if you're listening to this, don't just trust me because I've said it. If
trust him because he'll punch you in the face. No.
trust you because if you don't, I'll punch you in the... No. Don't trust me. Go. Everything I've said, go and check it out for yourself. If I found the answer, you can find the answer. If you found something contradictory to what I've said, you are more than welcome to send it to me, and I will either agree with you because, I'm up for being told differently.
However, if you do find something, please actually send it and don't just say that he's wrong and not give any additional details.
Yeah, please don't just say, you don't need to bother replying to this, but you're completely just wrong. It's like, okay, excellent. Yes, I'll take my entire website down because you have said that I am wrong. No, if you find something wrong, send it to me. Actually send it to me so I can read it and either amend what I've done, what I've done wrong, or give a defense of why I think what I've said or done or written is right compared to what you have contradicted me with.
I think it's an egregious problem in religious communities about just taking authority figures at face value, because you always hear about the old people who get swindled out of their money and on and on, and you get the religious cults like at Mount Carmel and all that stuff, but it's a problem in the non-religious community too, especially among atheists, because you had the Richard Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens, and there's a lot of people who would just parrot those people, and they don't really they don't really think for themselves. They just take their arguments verbatim, and
it's a problem. It's just a problem with humans in general. Because what was that experiment they did? Basically, someone in a lab coat told somebody to do something.
Right. I think we've talked about this before. Actually, yeah. Where the guy shocked the other people because the doctor said to do it. Yeah. Yeah,
and it's just a case of it's just how we're conditioned. It's like we're conditioned to respect your elders. Listen to your mum and dad. Listen to other people.
I've noticed even with my son, because he just he's only one. But he trusts me, and mostly me. He doesn't see my wife as much. He trusts her too, but he doesn't trust strangers. We had a friend came over, and he started crying until he saw me interact with her, and then realized, okay, she must be okay because Dad's okay with it, So he definitely trusts me because you have to when you're a baby.
You have to trust. Yeah.
Yeah. There's really no choice. Yeah.
The person who's giving you food and clothing you and not letting you just go outside to sit on the curb or something. Sorry, sidewalk.
Curb is fine here too.
Is curb all right? Okay.
Yeah. Well, a sidewalk and a curb are two different things because the sidewalk's the part you walk on. The curb is where it
meets the road.
Yeah. Exactly.
Sidewalk. It's a path.
You say path over there.
We say path. Yeah. We don't have what you say is a sidewalk. We call the path.
So when you're done using the loo and you want to go for a stroll, you
walk down the path.
You walk down the path.
Yeah, next to the curb, next to the road.
And if it's dark, you take your torch.
Take your torch, and go on a train carriage.
That's right, a train carriage.
What do you call a train carriage over there then?
A train car. Call them train cars. Yeah.
A train car.
Yeah, a car.
And you sent me that email joking about a carriage, and you call it a train car.
That's what we call it.
So yeah, to reiterate, don't trust me, don't trust Andrew. Please go and check it out for yourself. Please use your brain. Basically, if you don't have the time, well, tough, find the time.
Okay, but you say if you don't have the time, tough, find the time. But what would you say to people who say, I can make a little time, but it's going to take a while before I'm comfortable? What do they do in the interim?
It is a difficult question, Andrew, and unfortunately, I don't have the answer to that. Find someone who can do it for you. I don't know.
You find a TV preacher, you send them all your money.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, if you can find time to sit in front of the TV and watch a TV show for an hour, basically, just don't bother watching that TV show for an hour. It depends. It depends how important you want to take this. If you're perfectly fine just listening to what I say, I'll tell you whatever the hell you want to, and that's absolutely fine. Well, it's not fine because you really should go and check it out for yourself.
Well, it's like people who say, I don't have time to go to the gym, or I don't have time to cook, or I don't have time to do whatever. It's not that you don't have the time. You haven't made it a priority.
Yes, exactly. Basically, if this is important, then you have to make it a priority, and then you will find the time for it. But basically, there's no such thing as I don't have the time. It's a case of you've not made it a priority, and therefore you're not giving it enough time, or you're not giving it the time.
Well, that really is what they're saying when they say they don't have the time. What they're really saying is, I've made other things a priority higher than that.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, there's your answer. Basically, if you're saying you don't have the time, you're a liar. Stop watching whatever the hell you did. Yeah. Stop watching 2.5 Men. I mean, seriously.
Please, yes. And
please.
And you could do anything else instead, and it would probably be a better use of your time.
I remember reading or I heard something that is the most watched comedy show in America, 2.5 Men. Or at least it was.
I was going to say, I don't think it is anymore, but... I
was going to say, since Ashton Kutcher. Oh, dear. Anyway.
Just discovered something a little shocking here. I flipped my Tanakh open to a random page, and it looks like the entire population of England is doomed. A woman shall not wear that which pertaineth to a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for whoever doeth these things is an abomination unto the Lord thy God. We all know the British fascination with cross-dressing humor, so I do believe you're all in a lot of trouble.
We do like our cross-dressing humor, actually.
Yeah.
We'll get to that when we get to Leviticus, don't you worry.
The guys who did Little Britain have no hope. They could work at a soup kitchen forever.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. It actually ends up pertaining to the army. Yes. Haha. That's something for you to muddle over for the next couple of years until we get to Leviticus.
That was in Deuteronomy.
Was that in Deuteronomy?
That was in Deuteronomy.
Oh no, it is in Deuteronomy, you're right.
Yeah.
I do apologise.
I can't believe you don't have the entire Bible memorized. Come on, what was the chapter and verse?
Oh, chapter 20?
I don't know, I already closed it.
No, I got it, yeah.
Oh, now you're looking for it.
Oh, I was close, it's 22 verse 5.
That's a little disturbing and amazing.
Hey, I know quite a lot, and you have to remember, I have it in 3 different languages in my head, okay?
Yeah.
I do apologise if I don't know it inside and out and back to bloody front, but... God damn it!
What have you been doing the last 10 years?
To be honest, I know more of the renewed covenant rather than the Tanakh.
I'm not surprised.
That's why I've been doing the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah.
Well, see, I know more of the renewed covenant because I've translated all of it. I haven't translated barely anything of the Tanakh yet, even though that's one of the things I've added to the website. So yeah, back to verse 21. He ends with the usual, and God saw that it was good. So yeah, the lovely little sea creatures and the winged animals are all nice and lovely. And they all have souls. For those
tasty.
And tasty. Yeah, well, not all of them.
Not all of them.
Well, I don't know.
I haven't tried all of them.
I don't know, neither have I. I don't particularly want to. I've tried rattlesnake.
Oh, really?
An ostrich.
I've had turtle.
You've had turtle?
Yeah, well, my brother found a large one when I was a kid, and his friend took it, and his dad cooked it, so... Turned out it was illegal, but...
Oops.
They either ignored that fact or didn't know about it until it was too late.
Poor Donatello. He didn't do anything wrong.
Poor Donatello. Unfortunately, they did not make a turtle pizza out of it.
Ooh, turtle pizza. Yeah, well, not all animals are for eating. In fact, some of them you definitely wouldn't want to eat because you'd die after eating them.
Yeah.
And specifically some sort of plants as well. Anyway, so verse 22, and God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth. Again, that should be winged instruments. That should be winged creatures.
Not
instruments.
Well, going with the theme of sea monsters earlier, I could just say sky monsters.
Sky monsters, yeah, go with sky monsters.
Sky monsters.
But that's why I don't particularly want to say sea creatures. I'd rather say reptiles rather than put sea, because it doesn't actually specify sea. It just says great tanine, which is creature.
Big lizard or
basically a big reptile type creature thingy, dinosaur. But this is a strange one, because this is God speaking to them. Be fruitful.
I didn't even think about that.
And fill the waters in the seas. And let the blah 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 multiply on the earth. And it was.
He comes back a week later and nothing happened, and he's like, "I told you to be fruitful and multiply. What are you doing?" It's like, we're kind of dumb, and we didn't write it down.
And yeah, I like how it says, "And God saw that it was good, and then He blesses."
Yeah.
It didn't say He blessed them, and then He says, "And God saw that it was good."
It was good before, just not good enough.
Mm.
He had to bless them.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe they sneezed.
Oh, dear. No. That was a bad joke. God bless you.
Right. Who sneezed?
And then we end with and there was evening and there was morning, the 5th.
Sorry, God. Didn't catch that. Sneezing back over here. What was that about eating fruit?
Awful British English accent. Awful.
Of course. Okay, but it's probably
it's better
than your American accent.
Better than my American. My American.
We could never be actors.
No.
Okay, so God's telling them, be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah,
He said it's good, and then He blesses them.
And asks them to, fill the earth with your, poo, in the case of animals, isn't it?
Fertilizer?
Be fruitful and multiply. Multiply is from the Hebrew rabba. Whilst it might mean multiply, it can also mean to, and grow. Basically, it means it can also mean to increase, to become enlarged, to become great, or to become numerous and everything. But it doesn't necessarily.
Becoming enlarged is a part of being fruitful.
But it doesn't just mean multiply. It doesn't mean
having kids,
reproduce constantly. Yeah. It can be a case of increasing knowledge.
Okay,
as well.
Sure.
Increasing loads of things, increasing what you think, what you do, how you do things, and it's not necessarily just be fruitful and reproduce.
Well, isn't that sort of already covered by be fruitful? I mean, what else?
Yeah, it is. It's be fruitful and then multiply. It's kind of like
a little redundant.
Yeah. Can't you be fruitful and fill the waters in the seas and let the flying creatures on the earth? Basically, they added in be fruitful and increase.
I would say it's redundant, but all of these are a little redundant.
Yeah, because it's basically this. God says this, and then it saw it was good, and then it actually happens. But that's why I think it should be fruitful and increase rather than
have sex and read a book.
Have sex and read a book. Yeah. Have sex and read a book, both at the same time, if possible.
You could. I mean, just read 50 Shades of Grey. You find it in your hotel room.
Yeah, you go to your hotel room, you'll find a 50 Shades of Grey in the drawer. And there endeth the 5th day.
It's day 5.
Day 5.
Well, it does really seem like the emphasis in all of these translations or compilations was how do I get the message across in the language I want, rather than preserving the exact wording, because once you've translated it into another language, you've already opened the door to not preserving the original wording. So I guess it makes sense that they would just try and get the message across as best they can using whatever words they want. But it does seem like there's a lot of petty little changes that don't necessarily make any difference.
If everybody just stuck with the Geneva Bible, probably would have much better translations today.
Yeah, and it wouldn't really hurt anything.
Yeah, unfortunately, the King James Version was a very politically done plagiarism.
Divinely inspired.
Politically done plagiarism. Anyway. But yeah, there we go. That is the 5th day.
Alright, well, I think that's going to close us out for the 5th episode and the 5th day. I'm your host, Andrew. And your host, Steven.
Bye.
Goodbye. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.
We
like to thank SacJoe22 for releasing her version of A Prayer under the Creative Commons 3.0 license, which allowed us to use it in our podcast. If you'd like to find more music by SacJoe22, visit ccmixter.org/files/SacJoe, SACKJO22/36192. And for more information about the Creative Commons 3.0 license, visit creativecommons.org/licenses/by-nc/3.0. Thank you.